περιεχόμενο για την προώθηση της ισότητας και την ενίσχυση.
How can we promote equality and the voice of women in society? Mrs. Saliba has just arrived. A pair of headphones for Mrs. Saliba, please. So I'm repeating that the first topic we will talk about is how literature can be used as a platform. I don't like the word platform, however, in order to be easier to communicate, in order to promote equality and the voice of women in society. Mrs. Rizak, would you like to take the floor and start? Yes, of course. Thank you very much for inviting me. Indeed, it is very important for us, especially for me, who work in a small publishing house, to be here and tell my view about the role that literature can play in promoting women's issues and affairs and in the presentation of women. I started the publishing house in 2004, publishing mainly educational books, education books, because that was what I was dealing with in other publishing houses. The truth is that what I am receiving from the Greek publishing activity is that women have always had strong presence in Greece. In other words, we are not the first women publishers and editors in Greece. There has always been strong women present in the Greek publishing market. I can give you such names. Nania Kalenesi from Kedros. It's very important to refer to important historic publishing houses and many more later on that are managed by women. And since 1890, we have got Kaliroy Baren, who has been having an excellent publishing and writing activity together with a core or first women. She publishes a journal and magazine that is soaring, in fact, everywhere in the publishing market. And she also publishes a women's newspaper. The chairperson is off mic. So I believe that we do have the possibility to, as women, to be present in the publishing market and as writers. There are several women writers in Greece. If we see how many women writers and women politicians exist in Greece, you will see that literature plays a pioneering role. There are voices that say many, many interesting things. Mrs. Di Pietro, what is your opinion on that? What's happening in Brazil?
Hi, Kalimera, Sabaher. And first of all, thank you so much for being here. It's an honor to be in Thessaloniki and an honor to participate in Publish Her, which is an amazing initiative of Sharjah, one of their amazing work they do for the publishing industry all around the world and for empowering women, and I know very well that. So thank you very much for the invitation to speak at Publish Her. Well, the first thing is that I like very much also the title of the panel, like the women role in designing or the landscape of the literary industry and the literary scene. I love the name landscape, the title landscape, because it's that. And I'm going to start with a very, very short story that I always remember, because I think that literature is very powerful. It's powerful because it finds its way through the fences and open our ears and our minds. And I think this works for women also, and for many other issues. So there is a short story. I won't bother you. I'll make it very short, but I like it very much. It's a traditional story. I don't know if it's 1001 Nights or if it's a Sufi story. But there was once the truth tried to enter the castle of the king Harun al-Rashid. And the truth knocked the door and say, oh, it's the truth. Or it starts to say many things to the keep gater. And sorry for my English. And then it also said, oh, king, there is justice trying to enter the castle. And it said, it can be complicated. And then all the time the truth was trying to enter the castle. And she never managed to. And then one day she knocked the door and said, oh, tell the king it's the fable. And then the king said, oh, the fable, oh, come on, let the fable get in. So that's how, and the story finished, that's how the truth entered the castle of Harun al-Rashid, disguised as fable. So I think it's very powerful. I always have this story in my mind because I think it's true. It's very powerful. It's a very powerful tool to bring us the essential things, the truth, and all good things. So I think that that's why storytellers and teaching stories and all this is a human heritage. So it's a treasure. So trying to answer the question, I think it begins like this. So yes, I think it's a very powerful. And what's happening in my country now, coming down to earth, it's women's getting a lot of visibility, and people just woke up that it's a very important, of course, part of society and a very strong voice. So we really are having a revolution and a revolutionary thing going on, like not just authors, many authors being translated to our language, women authors, because in Brazil, the women authors from Brazil, I think they have visibility, and they always had. Actually, one of our most important author among men or women is a woman. It's called Clarice Lispector. She's huge. She's been translated everywhere. So, but it's more the industry that really, like the big companies, of course, it's being running by men, but this is business. It's not literature in a way. So, but it's more complex than I'm saying. But what I think is that women are being translated a lot. So the big companies realize that this is a good business. So since they are having like more women, more famous women outside Brazil, so they're being translated in Brazil. What we do in our publishing house, it's called Tabla, and we publish mainly Arabic cultures. We try to get a balance. So we try to translate a lot of women from all the countries, from the Arabic countries and different, which is a huge diversity, and also from different times. So I don't know if I answer your question or, well, that's it for the moment.
Βεβαίως. Η κυρία Σαλίμπα,
Mrs. Saliba, what are things so nicely here and in Brazil? Thank you for being here. I totally agree with Laura, because we are here today in this beautiful venue, and we are here in order to create this chain of cooperation with other countries, other places, other people, other cultures. You are giving us an excellent opportunity. Would like to thank you for giving us the opportunity to join our voices. As a historian, being a historian myself, I know that Greek women writers have always been present and have played an international role, because most of them were dynamic women. They were feminist women from the last quarter of the 19th century. Ever since, we have been having a continuum since that time until present with no interruption. We have top women writers who have been translated in several languages. Penelope Delta, Alkizei are some names. I will also mention some poetesses like Maria Laina. And I think that we as Greek female writers have had an important course. As for publishing houses, I'd like to present my personal experience as a small independent publishing house. I'm saying independent because we're not linked to any big publishing house. In order to publish someone is not to give us money, because we believe in competition, in the operation of the market on healthy terms. The publisher, the auditor, the female publisher must play a multiple role. The first thing that we have to face as women is lack of time. Being a female publisher means that you work 24 hours out of 24 hours. So this demands a lot of time and a lot of skills. You must know very well social sciences, history, poetry, literature. You must have criteria so that you can choose and select the authors. You must follow the voice of the authors at all stages. As a publishing house, we don't publish only books. We follow step by step each author so that we can make the best usage of the author's work. Another very important point I'd like to touch upon is that female publishers need to have important financial knowledge. You can't ignore the rules of the market. You must be able to read the profit of your turnover and to think in a practical way. Knowing literature is not enough. You must also know the important financial and economic tools that will allow you to have longevity in the publishing world. Thank you very much. You touched upon very nice issues, Mrs. Saliba. Yes, special skills are needed. It's not an easy job at all. You have covered the following question, so I'll move on to the next one. I'd like to ask each one of you the following. How do you think women writers have moved on and have questioned the patriarchic structures in the literary world? How could these women or the publishing houses of these women stand out in the publishing world? Laura, can we start with you?
Okay, let me see if I can ask this very difficult question. Okay, in general, what's happening in my country, and it has to do with the question, I think it's that the independent publishing houses, mostly they are, the leadership is a woman. This is a phenomenon. So, and they are bringing a lot of diversity, and they are bringing a lot of, be it translated from many languages. Okay. Can you hear? Louder. Louder, okay. Okay. Shine. So, yeah, I was saying that in Brazil, the publishing houses, the independent publishing houses, which are doing an amazing work, bringing a lot of diversity, and they are run by women. The leaders are women, and so they can bring, like, of course, they are also promoting literature written by women, and also local women, and also translating women. And I think this independent house are doing such a great job from 10 years now. It's very recent. That also the big companies start to pay attention and say, oh, this is profit, this is interesting, and we should go for that. So it changed very much the landscape the last few years in Brazil. So pushing for new authors. From the perspective of the authors and the writing, I don't feel so much that there is the patriarchal issue. Is a big issue. I feel much more on the segment, on the industry, on the big companies, on the money, and on all this that is really running by men and running by a patriarchal mentality. So something like that.
The question is related to the history of education in Greece, in my view. Greek women were educated very quickly on the socio-economic facts of our country. Education opens up the way both to writing and to entrepreneurship. Simply because we were early educated and we got rid of the model of women that stays at home and deals only with family, children and house. So women dealt with writing and entrepreneurship. I fully agree with Zizi, who said that it is very difficult to run small publishing houses like ours and independent publishing houses. But both Zizi and I had the possibility, when our children grew up, we were able to be engaged in the publishing world in a more intense way, in a more organized way. Because I don't know what's happening in Brazil, but in our country, women are not supported in order to be able to deal both with family life and professional life. So we had to do everything on our own. So running a publishing house meant that we had to be there for 20 hours per day and night, and we had our children and our family life as well. But our driving force is our love for literature. And this is also true for Zizi, because I know her very well. We studied literature, and that made us love literature, and we stay up late at night for this purpose. I fully agree with you and with Laura. There is no issue to promote female literature, but in our discussion I would like to mention the following. There are two categories of publishing houses in Greece. We have the old publishing houses that now have passed down to sons, daughters, the next generation. That is publishing houses that have a family tradition. And the second category is the new independent publishing houses that are people like us who struggle every day. And I'd like to make this distinction, because it is different to have the structures and infrastructure from your father, mother, and your family. And it's another story to be a fighting woman who has to be present everywhere and at any time. So I think we should make this distinction. What you're saying is important, however, it's not easy at all in the new landscape, in the new publishing landscape. Even old publishing houses can't deal with the new conditions. It is still difficult for them. Yes, old publishing houses have a history and a know-how. But nowadays we have new tools concerning communication and other sectors, and we must learn these things from the start, because we were all illiterate. So, next question, what about digital platforms? and the rise implicit digital platforms and social media and the accessibility of female writing and literature in digital platforms. Laura, the floor is yours.
I think digital platforms is very important and is doing a great job to promote more diversity. And we use a lot in our publishing house. There are young people in our publishing house, thank God. And, and they deal with the social media and everything because it's very important. We love our YouTube channel, for example. It's a very strong tool for us. Since we are dealing also with, let's say, a literature that really needs a context, we found it when we started to publish the books from the Arabic countries or from Turkey, and that we need a context. So the platforms for Instagram or YouTube or all the social media is very important to build up a reading, a conscience. And this has to do with women also. So we do a lot of tables and conversations with women. For example, we had a book very controversial by Rashida Daif. We had to put like women together to talk about this book because there is a very misogyn character in this book, and he did it on purpose. So we always like try to talk about this, and we always get women. And Brazil is a continent; it's a huge country, so it's very important for us. The online, if something from the terrible pandemic times, there was something good. It was that we learned how to use and how to keep doing the live sessions and live meetings. For us, it's very important. Brazil is too big, so we can have we do a monthly book reading. So, and mostly like 70% of our readers are women. This is a Brazilian number. 70% at least of the reading people in Brazil are women. So when we do our book club, 80% is women, 70% is women, and they are from Amazon to the south and from everywhere. So we really appreciate the online, and we use it a lot. And I don't know if you're talking also about ebooks or digital. I said in another panel that we use a lot of digital and ebooks for promotion. It's not a selling thing, but it's very much good to pay attention for the print run. And we're doing this, and it's going really well, really well. Sometimes we put like 3 days of free ebooks so people can get it to know something that would be a little bit strange, or we do it a lot. And we do it a lot with our women writers. So.
Zizi, εσύ. Κάνω την ανατροπή.
Zizi, the floor is yours. I believe that we also use digital applications and platforms for the distribution, sales, and promotion of books. As a country, we can't enter Amazon. There are difficulties. According to the latest statistics that we've got, the development and the growth of digital editions here in Greece is not so rapid. We are still in printed form. So I would like to raise a second problem that has to do with women publishers. We must have a lot of knowledge about paper, about the book binding, the type of the paper, the type of the fonts, what kind of book cover we're going to use, and at the same time, alongside, we must be informed and we must try to enter the digital era. We have entered social media and sales and promotion. We do very good digital promotions of our books, but we still have a long way ahead. And I'd like to raise a question mark here. So, We have got printed forms and digital forms. Let's see who's going to be the winner in the publishing world. I left Mrs. Riza at the end in order to ask you the following. How are we going to use the platforms? And is it a cheap tool for small publishing houses? We must make a distinction. Electronic book is one thing, promotion is another thing, and electronic communication is another thing. In other words, electronic communication gave us the possibility to come closer to our readers having our websites and social media. Now, concerning e-books, from my experience, I believe that e-books didn't evolve in the way that we thought that it would evolve. Why? Because in Greece the reading audience is small compared to our population. So this audience is traditional reading audience. These are the people who love paper. Young children and teenagers are informed on social media about current affairs and what's happening in the world. But book reading is limited at younger ages. And this doesn't make a tradition to move to e-books. So our readers prefer printed books. Electronic media uses the possibility to promote books in general. So e-books is one story, and the promotion of our books electronically is another story. And the digital platforms are not interested in Greece anymore still. Amazon isn't interested in Greece. It's a wall. There is a wall between Greece and Amazon. And of course, another huge issue that digital platforms raise is the issue of copyright. We haven't solved this issue institutionally speaking. This is an unsolved issue for our country, as it was in the past the photocopying of books. The digital platforms is not an easy issue at all. I'd like to add something concerning digital editions. We must make one more distinction. What kind of editions are we talking about? Are we talking about art editions or educational editions that are going to be used either in secondary or tertiary education? Yes, then in this case, digital editions can be a useful tool. It depends on the type of editions and publications. But as Mrs. Riza said, I would like us to move on to the huge issue of copyrights. And we must say that for education, most university students prefer printed book. Of course, bibliography should be in an electronic form. But seeing my children who are 30 and 35 years of age, they prefer printed books for their university courses and not the electronic books. Laura, we have touched upon a lot of issues here. I would like you to express a second comment on the distinction that the two other ladies mentioned, and about copyrights. So I haven't really understood, Zizi, what you mean with the term copyrights, because there are a lot of distinctions in copyrights. You mean copyrights of the material that you have and publish. Yes, you can have a digital edition, and then this might be taken from you, and it can circulate free of charge on the web, on the internet. Let's talk about this issue. Because this year's International Book Fair has raised a lot of issues about what we call female women's literature, or I don't like that term, or literature written by women. Mrs. Di Pietro, you are having the floor.
I don't know if I understood, but the issue of copyright related to women copyright. Well, I don't think there is a difference actually. I don't think it's an issue. A copyright actually for us, what I feel, let's say, like a challenge of copywriting, and this is women or men, it's because the market and everything is changing very fast. But let's say the part of the bureaucratic part is very slow. So now, for example, we could have, I would love to have our books printed everywhere, because you can have Brazilians everywhere or people that speak Portuguese everywhere. So I would love to print on demand, for example, in many places. Really, this is a big subject, but I'm saying the copyright, it's very much attached to a language and a place, which I can understand, because it's how also agents survives and all this. But this is an issue. I think it's a bigger issue. But it has nothing to do, in my point of view, of women or men. I think it's the copyright issue. I never thought of in these terms of gender, so I don't know. But coming back to the possible, sorry, I'm going a little bit out of your. I just want to say, just to make it clear, that what I think it's the scene in Brazil, for example, the cultural scene, the cultural literary scene, is not so much a patriarchal scene, but the business, the industry, then it is a very patriarchal still structure. For example, even the institutions of the book in Brazil is very patriarchal, it's very old-fashioned, and it's a little bit a part of the cultural scene. Sometimes they really shock between them. And we can see this when you have like an official in Brazil. Well, anyway. And you see that it is very old-fashioned and it's very man, but not the cultural scene so much. So I don't know if I made myself clear, but it's more institutional, more business, and this part is still, we have a long way to go yet. Which I see, for example, in Sharjah, it's much well solved than what we think in our free world, whatever.
Είναι απόλυτα σαφές και στην Ελλάδα.
It is absolutely clear. The same is true in Greece. I don't know if the other two ladies agree. This is the last day of the book fair. And in conclusion, I'd like your opinion about the topics that prevailed in the panels of the book fair. And these had to do with literature written by women. How do you, women publishers and editors, defend women and other different voices? And one more thing. I'd like your opinion about the huge women reading audience. How can we convince men to read more? I am sensitive, not so much to women authors. I think there I am objective, but I am sensitive to women's issues. The books that I choose are usually books that make me feel more sensitive if they talk about women's issues. For example, women's abuse. So if I see a theme like that, I pick it and I choose it. we are sensitive to that. I would say that I am more sensitive to human rights for both men and women. Of course, there is a huge issue about women. Many books from the editions and many of the books that we publish have to do with rape when you are married and women's abuse. But I will place all this in the framework called human rights. I believe that both men and women should struggle in order to conquer and achieve equality in human rights. Thank you very much. Laura.
Well, I think that this is a phenomenon, but that man is reading less. At least I can talk about my country, but I think it's a more wider phenomenon. Actually, it's kind of everywhere, or everything that's about learning, evolving. It's like it's more women that's in it, and of course it has to change. It would be great if it changes, but I think it's I don't know if it's a cultural thing. I don't know. It's like men stuck it there, and women are going very fast. So men, just follow us. That's what I think.
Λέτε να φταίει που διαβάζουμε
Do you think the reason why this is happening is because we women read literature, so we move faster? And
I never know very much how to answer, and I probably I will regret. But I think that women are very much interested in very open to learn. Maybe because, I don't know, well, all human beings suffer some kind of oppression. And men also, they suffer some kind of oppression, probably from their place in the world or the way they have to be. So everybody has a society or a cultural oppression. So maybe like men, maybe it's ugly if a man doesn't know about an issue. Wow, this is not so... expected that man knows everything, or I don't know, it's a kind of, I never see a man like asking, for example, if I go with the man in the street and I want to ask for some, let's ask where is the place. I say, no, I know where is it. I know I will find it. It's a very cultural thing, so I don't know. And maybe I think it's cultural. I don't think it's in their DNA or whatever it is. So I think little by little we can change this, but not fighting. I really, there's something that I don't know, I'm going to be 60 this year, so maybe I have learned something. And I think it's not like fighting against what is there, because it's like building the new. Build the new, construct the new, go another way, and the old is going to be obsolete. So I'm very much in this kind of philosophy. Just do what you think it's good to be done, because if you fight with something, then you by the end of the day you're making it grow. So it's a kind of old counsel, something, advice.
Τώρα θέλω να ρωτήσω.
And now the floor is given to the audience. Have you got any questions for our speakers? We have been really good, and we have answered all your questions, or at least we have raised some issues for discussion. There is one question, yes. I would like to ask you about copyrights. The copyrights of the authors in relation to the publishing house. That is, should an author find a way, any way, to protect his intellectual work, or the publishing house also takes care of this issue, which is very difficult. In our publications, in publications thinness, I believe that the writer is an inspired person and a professional. So both writers and publishers must rely on a contract. In the contract, the copyrights must be written clearly and precisely in every detail, and they must be observed by the publisher. If there is a contract, there is no problem. You are protected by the law. We have run out of time. We could have been discussing about these issues for hours, but we have no further time. Thank you very much.
Would you like to come? Just to wrap up, because this is the last Publish Here event.
Είναι η τελευταία εκδήλωση εδώ και θα ήθελα να πω ότι είμαστε πάρα πολύ χαρούμενοι και είναι τιμή μας να έχουμε μαζί μας αυτό το δίκτυο εκδοτών εδώ στη Θεσσαλονίκη με το δικό του στάντ και με 3 πολύ ενδιαφέροντα πάνελ. Έτσι είχαμε την ευκαιρία να ακούσουμε πολύ καλές συζητήσεις από γυναίκες εκδότριες και από την Ελλάδα και από τα Εμιράτα και από την Λάουρα που είναι από τη Βραζιλία, αλλά στην ουσία είναι μια γυναίκα κοσμοπολίτησα που ταξιδεύει πολύ στον κόσμο και ξέρει τι συμβαίνει παντού σε όλο τον κόσμο και συνεργάζεται με Άραβες εκδότες και συγγραφείς. Με χαρά ακούσαμε ότι την ενδιαφέρει και η ελληνική αγορά βιβλίου. Να πώς συμβαίνουν τα πράγματα λοιπόν. Είναι πολύ ωραίο που έχουμε την ευκαιρία να προσκαλούμε κάποιους ανθρώπους, να μαζευτούν εδώ όλοι σε ένα μέρος όπως είναι η έκθεση βιβλίου και να συζητούμε και να θέτουμε σημαντικά θέματα στο τραπέζι, να ξεκινούμε ένα διάλογο και να βρίσκουμε λύσεις στα προβλήματα. Και τέλος, αλλά λιγότερο σημαντικό, θα ήθελα να ευχαριστήσω από την καρδιά μου στην υπέροχη η ομάδα της από τη Σάρτζα. Περιμένουμε να έχουμε περαιτέρω συνεργασίες πάνω σε αυτό το θέμα. Θα θέλετε να πείτε κάτι? Θα ήθελα να σας ευχαριστήσω όλους που συμμετείχατε εδώ. Ήταν υπέροχο να συνεργάζομαι με την Νόπη, είναι superstar, και να συναντήσω όλες αυτές τις υπέροχες γυναίκες του εκδοτικού χώρου στην Ελλάδα. Έχουμε ανακαλύψει όλα αυτά τα κρυμμένα διαμάντια. Θα ήθελα να σας προσκαλέσω να μπείτε στο δίκτυο εκδοτών. Οι γυναίκες υποστηρίζουν τις γυναίκες και συζητήσεις σαν αυτές πρέπει να συμβαίνουν παντού. Δεν είμαστε μια φεμινιστική οργάνωση. Θέλουμε να ενθαρρύνουμε την ανάγνωση και οι θερμοί υποστηρικτές μας είναι άνδρες, πρέπει να γνωρίζετε. Σας ευχαριστώ θερμά όλους. Ανυπομονώ να σας δώσω άλλες εκδηλώσεις που θα διοργανώσουμε σε άλλα μέρη του κόσμου, καθώς και στη Σάρτζα.